What's up, and welcome to the episode of the Grindline Podcast. I am your host, Greg. I'm here tonight with Ryan. Tyler's
Ooh.
fucking off, taking the day off, whatever. We don't know. It's a day to day. I have no idea what Tyler's doing.
He's
But
young. He does
yeah,
shit that's fun.
yeah, he gets to do fun things while us people in our 30s get to sit around and have bad backs from carrying children and running all over the place.
Kids just trying to destroy everything.
No, as I tell my doctor, I carry a 23 and 36-pound weight all day. So that's probably why my back is fucked up.
Yep.
So,
I feel you.
Ryan, how are you?
Tired. Mainly
Same.
because of kids. Yeah. Kids.
Same.
But we had a good dinner though. She didn't eat it. She threw her rice all over the floor. Thankfully we were outside. But we had some chicken. So I've been using the smoker nonstop. So it's called Mandarin chicken. I got
Nice.
chili sauce on top of just smoked chicken. That's fantastic.
I
Should
asked,
have done the chicken a little bit longer, I think, but I'm still getting used to that thing.
I asked my son today, when is he going to stop throwing things on the floor?
Never.
Because I am really
Never
tired
will.
of vacuuming every night after dinner, vacuuming the kitchen floor because it is full of food. So he gets to the point where he is done with using a plate, and he will pick the plate up and turn it upside down to dump the contents of said plate onto his placemat, because it's apparently easier to grab food from a placemat than it is from a plate. So I don't even know why I bother. But there is news in Red Wings land. Enough about
Yay.
small children that don't listen.
Before we go into the giant lull of probably nothing.
Yeah, there's still some notable free agents out there like Klingberg and Kadri, but I don't think any of them really make sense for Detroit right now. But Detroit did sign one free agent after we had recorded, and I didn't do a 5-minute major on it because it wasn't huge. But the Red Wings did sign Mark.
But it could be significant.
It could be. Now,
Pysyk.
people are
Sorry,
like,
I cut you off right there. Pysyk.
Mark Pysyk.
Mhm.
People were not super thrilled with the Pysyk deal. They kind of threw it away. We initially thought it might be a depth signing for Grand Rapids. I don't think so. He's 30 years old. He signed a 1-year contract at $850,000. It says he can play right D or right wing. So apparently Pysyk has played forward at some point in his career.
So is he like wait for it, a Luke?
Oh,
Witkowski?
no, stop it. No, he is not. He is not a Luke Witkowski. Last season, he played 68 games for the Buffalo Sabres, tallying 12 points, 3 goals, and 9 assists. But he is what Jay Fresh had called an analytical darling. He has and people keep messing with my charts. I'm in here trying to look up information, and they keep switching it out on me. But Mark Pysyk has a projected WAR of 63%, an EV offense of 52, an EV defense of 82, and a finishing of 79, which is really good. His defense is what is notable, though. For a team that is lacking on defense, that's a guy that's going to be able to come in and kind of just bolster the defensive power of your team. He's 6'1", 196 pounds. Again, not afraid to throw the body, and he's 30 years old. So you're getting a little older there, but not terribly old. I think when I saw Cap Friendly's tweet from this morning, the Red Wings will be the 3rd youngest team with an average age of like 26 next season.
Just over.
Yeah, I had tweeted that we went from senior community center to nightclub in 3 seasons, which is really interesting. But Mark Pysyk is coming in on a 1-year deal, and based on the news that Jake Wallman will not be available to start the season because of his shoulder surgery, we needed an extra body on defense. So Pysyk will be able to come in, and people like him. I think they like him. At least the people from Buffalo. He played in Buffalo. People from Buffalo thought he was pretty good. The people from Florida thought he was good. He played 2016 to 2020 in Florida. So it's a good.
Is he like a Troy Stecher type? Maybe. I mean, he's not small.
No, I think Stetch was a little bit more offensively minded.
Yeah, he's 6'1". Stetch was what, 5'10"?
Yeah, and I think Stetch was more offensively minded, but
right. But I guess for the sound aspect of his game, like Stetcher played bigger than he was, and he was good out of his own zone, and basically liked by most people. So that's the first person that comes to my mind in that comparison.
Yeah, I think Pysyk's just going to be your stay-at-home kind of guy who is going to be better than a Gustav Lindstrom was the last half of the year.
That's
So I think at this point you're pushing Lindstrom to your extra D slot. Your 7D will be Gustav Lindstrom most likely. Jordan Osterley will probably be waived. And then you slot in Pissick there because I think he provides more stability and a little bit more experience than a Lindstrom. So that was the signing there. The Red Wings also made an announcement by hiring Jay Varady as an assistant coach, which brought our bald to hair ratio to 2-2, which is a nice even split on our coaches that have hair and coaches that don't have hair.
So it appears he has a beard as well of some, or at least some type of facial hair. So he's up in the ante.
He's got the mustache goatee combo going on.
Yeah,
it doesn't go up, so it's not a beard, but it's the mustache goatee combo.
Looks okay.
Yeah, and I'll take it. I'll take extra hair on our coaches because that might have been a problem. I mean, they were lacking hair.
Still some PTSD of that.
Yeah, I'm a PTSD of freaking Pierre Maguire going to the wrong coach. What do you go to Ferschweiler instead of Blash and starts asking him questions? He's like, "You're an idiot, Pierre."
Hey, be careful what you wish for here, because Pierre Maguire is going to be back on Canadian television, so we may see him again.
Glad I don't get the channel, Ryan.
You never know. Could be an ESPN broadcast.
No, absolutely not. Jay Varady is 44. He spent his 3 seasons as a head coach of the AHL Tucson Roadrunners from 2018 to 2020 and 2021 to 2022. During his tenure with the Roadrunners, he compiled a 93, 84, 11, and 6 record and led the team to its first ever Pacific Division title in 2019-20. He made his debut behind the NHL bench as an assistant coach for the Coyotes during the 2021 season, helping the team to a 24, 26, and 6 record. I think that's as good as you are going to get for being the Coyotes. Prior to joining the Coyotes organization, he worked 1 season as a head coach for the Ontario Hockey League's Kingston Frontenacs in the 2017-18, guiding the team to a 36, 23, 6, and 3 record and a berth to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in franchise history. Previous to that, he had spent 4 seasons as the head coach and director of hockey ops for the United States Hockey League Sioux City Musketeers from 2013 to 2017, where he posted a 136, 88, 10, and 6 record. While with Sioux City, he was named the USHL Coach of the Year in 2016-17. And after the Musketeers clinched the Anderson Cup as regular season champions with a 40, 13, 5, and 2 mark, reached the Clark Cup final. In all, Varady led Sioux City to the postseason in 3 of his first 4 seasons at the helm, earning 2 appearances in the Western Conference Finals and a pair of Western Conference regular season titles. He is American. He's from Cahokia, Illinois.
Of course, he is the most random name town.
Yeah, I've never heard of Cahokia, Illinois. But he made his debut with the Duc d'Angers in France's Ligue Magnus from 2011 to 2013.
I'm so proud of you for attempting these things.
I don't know. He spent 8 seasons with the Everett Silvertips of the WHL. He has a very extensive coaching career. And if it's a Lalonde hire, it's a Lalonde hire. And he likes the guys and to bring them in, get him the hell away from the Coyotes organization. He doesn't want to go to a college, I guess, to coach.
Not going back that way.
Yeah, no. But he'll come here, welcome behind the bench. Like I said, before they announced him today, I said, who? I have no idea who he is. But looking at
what role is he going to take on? We lost a goaltender. Is he going to be goaltenders? Or?
No, because Westland is.
Oh, that's right. That was the other guy that was hired with Bugner.
So Bob Bugner and Jay Varady will be the other assistant coaches. And I don't know who's going to do defense, who's going to do offense. They haven't really announced that yet.
Because now they've got 3 assistant bench coaches.
Yeah. So generally you have special teams, power play, PK, offense, defense, head coach. So that gives you, So, I mean, we fired 2 coaches. They fired Huda and whoever was worried. I don't remember who the other assistant coach was that got fired. So they fired 2, brought on 2. And that just, that
brought
fills
on
the bench.
3.
But they fire a goaltending coach too.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're counting Blashill.
No.
No? Who are you talking?
There, I feel like there was more coach firings, Ryan. When they announced that Blash was let go, I knew they let go of Salako, who's the goaltending coach.
Yeah.
And they let go of Doug Huda.
Yep.
They kept Tanguay.
Yep.
And I feel like they fired another person. Otherwise, we would have an excess of coaches, and they don't just randomly hire coaches to hire coaches. So, but we have a full coaching staff as of right now. unless they feel like bringing in more people. I mean, they could just fill the bench if they wanted to. I don't think there's a limit on coaches you can hire.
No, I don't think. I mean, I don't. It's team preference, right?
Sure. But I think Jay Brady, I mean, like I said, knowing nothing of him and then reading his background, it's good. I'll call it a good hire until he proves me wrong. He's got the experience, a ton of it. He's got a ton of experience. So I'll take it.
So here it is. So Blashill's gone. They also did not renew the contracts of Doug Huda and Jeff Saleko. That's it.
So were we playing down? Were we playing down a coach? Or are they just like extra coaches now?
Unless somebody's going, didn't they lose someone for the video team?
Yeah, but then it would say would have hired a video coach. But it's not video. It just says assistant coach. So 2 more assistant coaches to go with Tanguay. So 3 assistant coaches, a head coach, goaltending coach were hired. Well, 2 assistants were hired. 1 was already here. We have coaches, Ryan. I think that's the main point.
So from Brad, is this from Brad Galley? Might be. It's on WXYZ. So he joins assistants Bob Bugner and Alex Tanguay and goaltender coach Alex Westland.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know what his role is going to be because we know unless
Ryan, his role is going to be assistant coach.
Well, I know, but unless like Tanguay is going to be more special teams specific.
Could be. Well, that's kind of what Tanguay was brought in to do, wasn't it? Because he was in charge of the power play before I think Blashill took it over and screwed it up.
We don't know that for certain, but that's our assumption. That's our deeply held belief.
Yeah.
I know some people would be like, no, that's not true. I'm like, well,
we'll see how it goes.
At the start, and then look what happened, and things looked exactly the same as the last couple of years.
We'll look at preseason.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens because
we'll find out at some point. We'll find out as we get close to the season when somebody probably asks Malone, like, "Hey, what do these guys do?"
Yeah, and I think they'll dive into it. The reporters will ask.
Yep.
It's not our
Helene will ask. We know what's going to happen. So we get that first question out of the way.
Yeah, her first question, which generally the last presser, her first question was kind of a waste.
You think she automatically gets chosen, or she just throws herself in right out there?
So she went back, this presser, the one you haven't watched yet, she got her first question back. My first tweet was the presser has begun and Helene regains her position at first question. Because in the pre-draft presser, she did not ask the first question. And then when she got up, Yzerman asked her, why didn't you ask the first question? Because she normally gets the first one. And she stumbled over her answer or whatever. But she did regain her position at first question. And that's actually what we're going to talk about next is the Yzerman presser. There were some pieces that I pulled out of that I thought were really interesting, especially the piece that Steve Yzerman thinks Simon Edvinsson is thick. He says he's tall
2 C's
and thick with excellent skating. They are optimistic, and if he's ready to play, then that's great. I think all signs are still pointing towards Edvinsson playing, hopefully opening night. I hope he takes that, especially with being down a defenseman. I hope he takes that second pairing slot on the left next to Filip Hronek. A lot of people were telling me that that's too much defensive responsibility for Edvinsson. I don't think so. Edvinsson is a great defenseman. And I mean, if you think that giving him Filip Hronek is too much responsibility, do you remember when we gave Moritz Seider Danny DeKeyser? Like, he'll be fine. Trust me. If your first NHL defensive partner is Filip Hronek and not Danny DeKeyser, you get a 10-minute head start on Mo Seider.
Yeah,
I would say so. Let's see. What are some other things that I pulled out of here? A lot of it was he was asked, what do you think you did what do you think these players helped that you picked up during free agency? His main answers were he tried to address some areas and add players that can improve the team, hoping that they're better and that hopefully special teams and defense are better. He was asked about playoffs. He said he is not going to think about playoffs right now. We thought about playoffs. I think they are much closer than they were coming into free agency. And I think we had talked about it. I was in the chat on Big D Energy with Woodward Sports Network, and they put up a poll. And I think most of the people said we could probably get a wild card spot. I have no problem with that. DMAC hopped on the train. He said he thinks that with the additions that were made and with the way the team's shaping up, and we'll talk about the roster builder a little bit later on, it looks like it could be a wild card team. If you think 100 points is the cutoff or 97 points is the cutoff in the East, I think they could be a wild card team. Maybe I don't think they'll place top 3 in the division still.
It's going to be
I
hard.
think they could pull a wild card spot.
I mean, if they do, you send this fan base over the moon because
Absolutely.
you finally get them in the new barn in a playoff game. We get to hear what that place can be like.
Oh,
and
man.
we get the players, all these younger guys that haven't been there. We already talked about all the guys they brought in and the experience they've got, what they're used to, Stanley Cup champions on this out of this group. Like, they know what it's like. Larkin doesn't know what it's like.
Nope. Bertuzzi doesn't know what it's like.
No, did Larkin get 1 year? I think I take that back. Did he get the first year there? Was it?
I don't.
Or was
think
his
so.
first year farewell?
Dylan Larkin got 5 playoff games in 2015-16
Yep.
and had 1 goal and 18 penalty minutes.
The Tampa series.
Yeah. So he got a 5-game taste. That's nothing.
So nothing. So, but my point, like, you're going to give Seider their first taste.
Yep.
You
Raymond.
give Raymond, maybe Edvinson. Like, the guys that you want to get that taste and get them hungry.
Yep.
If you crack the playoffs this year, and you know what, people will be like, oh, they don't need to make the playoffs, they're going to suck. You never know.
Yeah.
Look what Columbus did a couple years ago. They upset Tampa, one of the top team in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they got destroyed in the second round, but that was the weirdest, I think. Wasn't it 3 sweeps in a row? Each team a different sweep that year, if I remember correctly, because Tampa got swept by Columbus, I'm pretty sure. And then Columbus got swept, and then whoever beat Columbus, they got swept. It was something crazy like that, if I remember correctly. But it can happen. It's hockey. Now, if it's Tampa, I think it's possible. It depends on who they face in the East, but you put a team like this with the balance of like skill and experience that they're going to have in that situation. That's where guys like your Perron, Sherratt, those guys step up. Cop, they're stepping up into that role to help Larkin get that team ready. It's best case scenario. Now, if they don't make it, as long as they're close, that's what's going to matter.
As long as they're competing.
Because if they're not, that's where I think we've said it before. Like, that's where people are going to start looking at Yzerman and be like, all right, dude, what's going on?
Yeah.
But you can't say it's not for trying. And again, if they're not close this year, it's because every single person worth a damn that's going to make them competitive got hurt.
Yeah, I think the big thing, and the more I think about it and the more I look at it and I look at the numbers and I look at the person, I am super excited for the David Perron signing.
Yeah.
He's a character guy. He brings the leadership with him. He brings the cup with him. He brings the knowing what it needs to win. I think he's going to be a huge guy for Dylan Larkin to kind of lean on and get that more leadership experience, because we already know Larkin is a good leader. We already know it's his locker room. But I think he's going to get a guy in Perron who can show him a little bit more. And I wouldn't be surprised if Perron gets an A in Detroit.
Oh, I can see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I think that's one of the main guys you can look at that was brought in, even though he's brand new to the roster and the lineup. Like I said, to me, he's an upgraded Sam Gagner.
Yeah, and you lose an A in Mark Stahl. You lose an A in DeKaiser. So you're going to have, I think you lost all your assistants or your alternate captains. So if you're going to give out 3 A's, or maybe you're going to roll with 2, I could see Seider off the bat. I think I could see Seider getting an A this season. If not this season, the next season. But I think Perron could get one. They might give one to Cop simply because they come here with that experience, with that higher level of play on previous teams.
Haven't Cop, Perron, and Sherratt all been captains on their previous teams?
Sherratt was an assistant. I think Cop was an assistant. And Perron definitely was.
Like, that's what I meant, like assistant captain.
Alternate. Assistant, alternate, whatever you want to call it.
Was Mata?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No, he played for
I knew the other
LA, but
three.
I don't think he had an A in LA.
Gotcha.
But that's one thing I think that is being maybe undervalued in these acquisitions is the leadership experience of the players that are coming in too. Because they bring in the winning mentality and they bring in a ton of skill and they fill positions of need. But I think there's the intangibles like the leadership capabilities. Like we had said, Kopp was Larkin's captain at Michigan. There's a leadership there. So there's familiarity and there's leadership that I think is going to help them take that next step, which I think is why a wild card is achievable if things go correctly, if the coaching meshes right off the bat and they get a strong start and they can sustain that start throughout the season. Because we hope that Lucas Raymond, even though he excelled pretty much the entire season, hit a slump because, I mean, it's a long season. Mo Sider didn't hit as much of a slump, but you could tell towards the end he was getting tired.
Oh, he was whooped.
So if that doesn't happen, then I think this season, because they've got an entire offseason to prepare, they have an entire season under their belt, they're going to do more advanced training. They've got more guidance. I think if they go in and they're like 82 games, we got it, we're pros now. I could see, I mean, we were chasing a wild card spot before All-Star break, right?
Oh yeah, they were right there the entire up until that point. Until the All-Star break, I think they were just holding down that second spot, and then after the break, the wheels fell off. It was either they were right up, or maybe it was like leading right up to it. They were in the second spot, then right before they fell out, and then never came close again.
Yeah, so I think if they could repeat what they did the first half, and I think they can do better because that roster was worse. That's one of the worst defensive teams we've seen in a very long time, and I think it
was a better defensive team than a couple of years ago, but it was still bad.
Yeah, but I think Yzerman went in and he improved the defense. I mean, you got defensively responsible guys. You got bigger guys. So
if you don't think that he's improved the defense, like there's even Steven Camper that we keep forgetting to talk about. Will he probably be in Grand Rapids? Yes, but like he has made all of these. It's basically a wholesale change to the back end. Now the front end, there was several guys that he brought in, but we got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then let's see, however many out. Let's see on the defense. So 4 brand new defensemen out of the current 8 on the roster.
Yep. Well, Yzerman said in the presser that you're probably going to see 7 new faces in the lineup on opening night, which to me, that's like a whole different team.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's 5 defensemen if you count Edmondson in that.
Yeah. So a couple other things I pulled out of the press conference. When asked about Perron, Stevie says he's competitive and they like the right shot and power play success. Very experienced, likes a veteran leadership. On Sherratt, defense first guy, bigger body, hard to play against. Would expect Mata and Sherratt to play with Sider and Hronek. That was another thing that he had been asked. He had mentioned Hronek, Bertuzzi, and Zadina by name a few times. So I don't think they are going anywhere.
Who, Yzerman did?
Yep.
Okay.
Yzerman says he doesn't really look to do more in free agency, but can explore some teams that have to make moves. Could be a potential fit. Says Wallman will get signed. Wallman did file for arbitration. We had pulled up his contract projection. It looks like, according to Evolving Hockey, which they've been pretty close, except for Yzerman
this year.
Yzerman deals really throw off their projection because Yzerman generally brings people in under value. So right now, Jake Wallman filed for arbitration. It looks like he could get a 2-year deal based on their projection at $997,800. So if you can bring in Jake Wallman for 2 years at under $1 million, that's a good deal. Ryan had also pointed out that Jake Wallman probably filed for arbitration so they could get that second buyout window.
He'd been like, hey, you're not going to sign yet. You're going to do this, and then we're going to come do an agreement.
Yep.
And then we're going to buy somebody's contract out. That is my tinfoil hat theory because it happened last season, right? Was it last year?
Bertuzzi filed for arbitration, and I think that buyout window was that buying out Nielsen or was that buying out Abdelkader? One of the two.
Either one doesn't matter.
Yep.
It happened. It has happened with Yzerman before. That's why I immediately thought this was going to be the case.
Yeah, so that could happen there. Jake Wallman is out to start the season. He is recovering from shoulder surgery. He will not play on opening night. Same with Robbie Fabry. I thought Robbie Fabry was actually slated to recover before training camp, but Yzerman says that Fabry will not be ready to start the season. So that gives you a little bit of flexibility.
When did he actually go and get surgery?
before the end of the season, didn't he?
Was it April-ish?
Yeah,
No, it was way before that.
I thought what he had was a 6-month recovery time, which would make sense. That would take him to October, so he's probably not going to play. I would assume Robbie Fabry will probably jump into the lineup between Thanksgiving and Christmas. That was
Fair.
my projection there, but it gives you a little wiggle room up front because you have a lot of forwards now. Yzerman says he doesn't want to sign another significant free agent and put himself in the place where he has to trade someone. There go the Klingberg rumors or rumblings or whatever. I know Merrick said on 32 Thoughts that he thought the ultimate destination for Klingberg would be Detroit. After throwing it into the roster builder, I say no thank you. Let's see a couple other things on here. On Copp, he is an actual career center, which is why they brought him in. He's versatile, and at 28 was comfortable with 5 years because he's a good athlete and takes care of himself. Yzerman really stressed that he doesn't see Copp as a guy that in the next few years would break down easily, that would come to get injured or wear out and need more rehabilitation and stuff. He says after watching Copp in several settings, he's a very good athlete that takes care of himself. So he was comfortable with a 5-year deal there for a guy that's actually a center and can play the center position responsibly.
No, they need it. It's simple. Like we saw them go that way in the draft. We saw them go that way with free agency. He filled need more than anything else. And I know that we were talking about best player available for the draft, but he filled their spot of need this year. But it wasn't like I think it called some of the picks a bit of a stretch, but we'll see how they play out because we don't know how they'll play out. But it's exciting. They're good picks. This team is better. That's what matters.
Yep. Yzerman says it's encouraging that they were able to sign players that are excited and genuinely interested in coming to Detroit. A lot of work and improvement to do, but with new guys coming in, they are trending in the right direction. That he'd rather have young guys go from the juniors to the AHL to the NHL instead of just being thrown into the NHL just because. If they can play, they will create a spot for them. I think that's the big thing when they were asked about some of the rookies and guys like Bergeron and Edvinsson, that if they can play, they will make a spot because it's all about making the team better. He will ice the best roster.
Mm-hmm. No.
Go ahead.
Nope, I got nothing. I was reading something and I made a noise.
When asked about Dominik Kubalik, Yzerman says they saw him a lot. He's big, can skate, has a great shot, and got him on a contract that's very reasonable. He adds scoring depth, reached out to him through Yuri Fisher, and they are very pleased they got him. At the beginning, I think Yzerman kind of hinted that they were surprised that they got Dominik Kubalik or surprised that Chicago let him go. I think that was the biggest thing coming off an initial, like we had talked about, 30-goal season in his rookie season, getting Calder votes, and then just getting trapped in the never-ending black hole that's the Chicago Blackhawks that even Scotty Bowman is escaping. Mm-hmm. That I think there's a chance that if he revitalizes that scoring touch, if he can come in and put up 20, 25 goals in his first season here, and you got him on a 2-year cheap contract, I mean, that's a guy you can lock up because he's younger and you need depth scoring pieces. And if he can play a mid-6 to top 6 role, I mean, that's extra ammo.
Yeah, he will be, unless he's bought out, who replaces probably Adam Erne.
Yeah, I would say, Adam Erne, though.
Now, granted, Ernie's probably more sound, I'm saying this loosely, defensively, because Kubalik is there to score. He's not there to play defense.
Oh, let's see.
We'll not see him on the PK.
Yeah, I don't even think I can bring up. I can bring it up. Let me see what Adam Erne looks like here on the WAR charts. Adam Ernie's EV defense is a 47%. And Dominik Kubalik's EV defense is a 46. They're about the same defensively.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Kubalik brings much more offensive firepower and is an overall WAR of 78, where Adam Ernie's WAR is a 22. So that is an absolute upgrade there. If you're saying he's an Adam Erne replacement, I think he's going to play up higher in the lineup than Adam Erne, even though Blash had Erne on like the top line a few times. Mm-hmm. Which is extremely puzzling. But I think that's where we go with that, is that if Kubalik can come back not come back to earth, because that's kind of, he fell through the fucking towards the middle of the earth with the goddamn Chicago Blackhawks. But if he
And
can bring his game back, that he has, because no one scores 30 goals on a fluke, I don't
Right.
think, that's going to be a real asset, a young, real controllable asset you have going forward.
I mean, you look at, I think we talked about this last week with him. If you look at his 3-year running average, that first season, that 30 goal year, even with 2 years after that, not really producing a whole lot like he probably would have liked to.
Yep.
He still has positive numbers. Like, I'm looking at
Sure.
Evolving Hockey right now, and his overall is a 62, offense 65, defense 44. So he's played some power play. He's an even strength offense. Like, that's where he really stood out. So I don't know.
Well,
Like I kind of said last week, he reminds me of a version of Athanasiou. So we'll see what happens.
It's the same thing with the WAR charts. The WAR charts are 3-year weighted average. That's taking into account his 2 terrible years, with not terrible, but his 2 down years with Chicago. He still has a WAR above 70. Imagine if he kept up that 30 goal pace. He'd probably be in the 90s for WAR, or high 80s.
Yeah, and he'd be making a lot more money and still probably getting re-signed by Chicago.
Exactly. So, well, I don't know about that, because Chicago traded DeBrincat, but Kubalik at 26 years old with a 2-year contract at $2.5 million. If he balls out for those 2 years, I mean, you could give him a 5-year contract,
especially if he helps your power play.
Exactly. Special teams is another thing that Yzerman kind of touched on. He said, with what we've got now, special teams should get much better. So Stevie says it's been tough on guys like Larkin, Bertuzzi, and Hronek that the team hasn't been good. Now, if they have spots in camp, they fill spots to put the best team on ice. The message is they're improving, and the moves they're making will make the team better. That's the message to the guys like Larkin and Bertuzzi and Hronek, to kind of instill that confidence in them. I think that's one of Hronek's big problems. The confidence is no longer there because the team is just not good. But now the team should be a lot better.
Yep.
The last thing that kind of wanted Stevie to touch on, he says that the guys are hardworking and professional. They elevate the atmosphere in the group. They enjoy competition and they like being pushed. The group they have are driven and motivated and should create more competition within the locker room. And when you have more competition in the locker room, your team is generally better. So that was the gist of the Steve Yzerman press conference. It was actually a really good one. I got a lot of good information from it, but mostly that Yzerman feels that the moves he made, and why not? I mean, he's Steve Yzerman, really improved the team. And again, he's not going to talk about playoffs because mainly if he talks about it and then they don't make it, he gets criticized.
Yep.
So
yeah, but or you can be like Lalone and be like, well, the expectation needs to be calmed down a little bit. But then he got criticized by people like, they're like, oh, your attitude should be you're an NHL coach. You should be going for the playoffs.
Yeah, it was a stupid article. But Yzerman even said that Lalone and the assistant coaches are coming in. They're going to put in new systems. Of course, it's going to take time for the players to acclimate to those new systems. And you've got training camp, you've got preseason. The preseason games aren't all stacked up against each other this year. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a little bit more spread out. They're going to have more time to work on stuff. And that hopefully by the start of the season, they've got the systems down between main camp and preseason. So the next thing we kind of want to touch on is Filip Zadina, who was qualified. And we had a hard time going back and forth between him, and it's going to be hard for him to, I think, break into a spot. Not hard, but more difficult for him to break into the lineup this year.
It makes things more interesting. I think he will get a spot, but I'll let you finish, then I'll get into
my point. So Filip Zadina, his contract projection through Evolving Hockey would be a 2-year contract at $1.889 million. Right now, Filip Zadina is making Filip Zadina is on a minimum, not a minimum contract. He is on an AAV of 1.744167, which is like the world's most random number. His cap hit is 894,167. So Zadina, I think, I don't mind the number. If you can get Zadina under $2 million for 2 years, that's fine. And then again, you hope he shows out. You hope the coaching change and the systems change and the confidence in the coach and the player really fixes his problem. And we talked extensively with George Malik on Twitter, who, and I agree with him, says Zadina needs to stop trying to do the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
He needs to shoot from all areas of the ice. He needs to stop thinking he can take it in the OV office and just score at will, when he doesn't react fast enough to do that most of the time. And when he does, he rushes his shot and it goes right into the goalie's chest.
Goes into panic
So,
mode. You can see it because his hands get quick.
Yep.
He just kind of, it's one of those where he's really not picking a shot. Like when he's set, and like on the one timer, for instance, or if he actually controls the puck and is just boom, boom, like very little thinking, it's an effective looking shot. He's throwing it into traffic, or he's able to pick his points. We know that the shot's there. We've seen him do it.
Yep.
We know
It's
that
a
if
lot
there's
of the
people
placement.
in front, yeah, we know when there's people in front, he's been able to somehow always hit a guy that's in front of him. I shouldn't say always, but quite often, a lot of his goals aren't a clean beat. He's throwing them off a leg, but he's getting them on the net, which is better more often than not than, the logo in the middle of your chest, which we see far too often.
I mean, I'd even rather him throw it low, shoot for a rebound at least.
Yep. And we saw that. Well, that was did he score off the mogul shot like that? Shot pass, if you will? Is that him that scored that? Who was that?
I think it was Zadina that did that. But the thing is that as long as he can get his confidence back, not grip the stick so much, I think George said he went through like 5 different stick brands last season just to try to figure out what wasn't working. And I think he's trying too much. I think what Lalonde should sit down, or Lalone should sit down and do, is just sit him down, calm him down, tell him to reset himself and just go. Nice. Yeah, just pet him nicely and say, nice, be quiet.
Just, I mean, we saw, there's no doubt that his 200-foot game improved. And I know that was hammered home hard by Blash and especially Yzerman going into last season in particular. And I think a lot of that was because, they knew their defense was completely hot garbage.
Bad, very bad.
So you needed to rely on your forwards to make those extra plays. So we talked about it quite a bit, that he's better in the corners, better at puck retrieval. The playmaking's there. He's not afraid to make his ass back up the ice, but the turnovers did happen more often than they needed to. But the biggest difference in those turnovers is that several were costly. Like they came back to immediately bite Detroit in the ass, meaning a goal against. So that kind of goes to maybe the try too hard aspect.
It's trying to do too much himself.
That's where I make the comparison of him to a Tatar, where he did that a lot, trying to do too much himself, and it got him in trouble, which then led to turnovers. And then we were like, what are you doing? You're not Datsuk.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't know. I think a position is his to lose,
I think,
rather than to try to take it back from someone that doesn't have it yet. I think it's going to be a higher hill to climb for Berggren to crack the roster with these changes. It's not saying that it's out of the question that he can make it, but I think now granted, we also still need a contract for Zadina.
Yeah.
So that could happen at any point, or he holds out into the season and then this all becomes whatever and be like, okay, well, somebody else is getting your spot and that's probably going to be it.
Yeah. But I think after Yzerman name dropping Zadina, I think he will get another chance. And Lalone did a little report. There was a write-up saying that Zadina is kind of the guy that maybe can benefit more from having a coaching change, from having a different voice, from having another set of eyes come in and tell him what he needs to do.
A lot of fans are hoping that too.
And I'm hoping it. Initially I said, well, I think Berggren could come in and really show up Zadina and say, it's my spot. What's up? It's Greg here from the Grindline podcast with a message from Manscaped. Growing out your playoff beard, let that thing loose up top, but our friends at Manscaped are here to help you avoid a jumbo Joe downstairs. The global leaders in below the waist grooming want to save your hockey pucks from a slap shot in crunch time this playoff season. 4 million men worldwide trust Manscaped to prepare them for the Stanley Cup. Join them and go to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code GRINDLINE. Shaving your balls starts with the perfect package for your package, the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and has a 400K LED spotlight when you need a more precise shave. The Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer is also included in this package, which is also waterproof, uses skin-safe technology, so you can keep the unnecessary roughness on the ice where it belongs. There is no more pinching. There is no more pulling. There's no more crying because you're ripping out your nose hairs. Shaves them clean off with no issues at all whatsoever. The Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant to keep your balls sticking to your legs from end to end. No one will be chirping you anymore. The Crop Reviver is a spray-on toner for your balls. It's made with soothing aloe and witch hazel extracts that will give your balls a boost. Manscaped even threw in their Shed travel bag. Amazing bag, super soft, has just enough room for all the tools plus some extras. It's not too big. My problem is generally that the bags are too small and cannot fit everything, so I end up throwing extra stuff in a backpack. This bag is just the right size. The boys will be buzzing this Stanley Cup lineup from Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code GRINDLINE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the promo code GRINDLINE at manscaped.com. Don't be a goon fighting your bush with the wrong trimmer. Choose the right tools for the job this playoff season with Manscaped. And that's the thing, is there's going to be a lot of competition. And I ran the War Roster Builder, JFresh's newest version of the War Roster Builder, where last season's projected, based on our lines, for our roster from last year, the projected points that we could have reached was 81. We fell under that because of several blowouts the last half of the season. I think if we would have kept going like the first half, we would have overachieved that goal, definitely.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were what did we end up with? 76? I think it was 76 points this last season. So we were off by like 6 points or 5 points, which is not terrible based on projections of the actual lineup. So looking at this one, and I swapped out all the names, and I still have Jake Wallman in here.
Sure, I finished with 74.
Okay, 74. So that's a 7-point difference.
Yeah.
Based on what we were projected to do, which again, is
and that's
still
with an injured Fabry.
Yeah, so that's 3.5 game difference, which is, I think, pretty accurate, right?
Yeah.
So looking at it now, I swapped. So here are my projected lines, and you tell me what you think. And I put these up on Twitter, and a lot of people agreed with me. I think that Ansar Khan from MLive, his was one player off, and I even did that swap because I think they're going to give Zadina a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But you got your top line of, and I initially had Verana up there, but I swapped out the anger management of the top 6. Tyler Bertuzzi, Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, top line.
Yep.
I initially had Verana and Bert swapped, but I think Bert brings a little bit more toughness to the top line. So he can go in and retrieve pucks for Larkin and Raymond. Perfectly fine. Second line, Jacob Verana, Andrew Kopp, David Perron. That line is going to be an absolute bitch to play against. Andrew Kopp and David Perron are just going to go around making life hell for people and opening the ice for Verana. I love that line. Amazing. Third line, Dominic Kubalik, Pius Suter, Philip Zadina. I like the scoring of that line. If Zadina can refine his scoring, Kubalik can refine his scoring, Suter's a good setup guy. And I'll take that line as your third line. Fourth line, I'm confused. And I asked this question, but I have not got an answer yet from Jay Fresh. In his system, he has a Joe Veleno, but he also has a Joseph Veleno. And I don't know if that's just Joe Veleno with like a top hat and a monocle or something, just a little fancier because he's a Joseph. But the third line I have as Joe/Joseph Veleno, Michael Rasmussen, and Oscar Sundqvist.
The Joe Veleno has the Red Wings logo next to his name. Joseph does not.
Has an NHL logo. I know.
Yes.
They get you about the same response. But Joe Veleno, Michael Rasmussen, and Oscar Sundqvist for a bottom line. I like that line too. Michael Rasmussen stepped up his game. Yep. You might even at this point flip Rasmussen and Suter. Because I think if you give the Kubalik and Zadina line a bigger center, you kind of move your size around because Sundqvist is a big guy. Mm-hmm. And if you move Suter down, Joe Veleno, Pius Suter, Oscar Sundqvist, we've seen Oscar Sundqvist's ability to finish. We've seen Pius Suter's ability to set people up. We've seen Joe Veleno play hockey. So I mean, the jury's still out on Joe Veleno, but that forward WAR for all four lines is a 13.8. I like it. The defense is a little low. The only line that comes in as a projected WAR negative is the fourth, but I mean, you can kind of afford that at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Your defensive pairs, I have Ben Sherratt, Moritz Seider. I think Ben Sherratt knocks people on their asses and gives Mo Seider the freedom to do whatever he wants. Oli Mata and Philip Hronik, Jake Wallman and Mark Pissick as your bottom
You might as
pair.
well, you got to take Wallman out of that now, though.
You do, but I have no one to replace him with currently. I'm saying if the full lineup went, I can't put Edvinsson in because Edvinsson has no projections because
Right.
he has no background.
Well, that's
I
where
think
you go.
Edvinsson
I
will
think that's
play.
where you just kind of default the way to Pizik and Lindstrom
Okay, you do that,
until
and I think it drops us by a few points.
it drops you to 99.
99. But again, you're not losing Wallman for the whole season. And you're probably going to have Edvinsson, which knocks someone else out. Swapping the tandem doesn't do anything. But
Right.
and then you have your goalie tandem of Alex Nedeljkovic and Billy Huso. So right now, and I want to get Gustav Lindstrom's name off of here. With what I did
Are
initially.
we editing the same one right now?
Yeah, we are.
With
With what I put out initially, the projected standing points for the new roster is 101. That is a 20-point improvement over last season, which I
did
think.
Did they say how long Wallman would be out?
No, but it was shoulder surgery, and he just said it would not be ready for the start of the season.
Was it labrum?
I don't know. He said shoulder, which is more than you really get from anyone. Normally, it's just upper body injury, but Yzerman did say it was a shoulder injury. So,
Gotcha.
But 101 points gets you a wild card spot.
Probably. Hell, 99 points could get you a wild card spot.
99 points could get you a wild card spot, depending on how other teams are going to fare. I think Boston drops. Tampa lost a little bit, but not a lot. They signed some big contracts that I thought were too much term. I think that you could, and then not a lot of other, I mean, Ottawa is going to be stronger next season. Ottawa will improve because they got DeBrincat and they made some other moves that helped them out. I don't see Buffalo improving very much, but they're going to also be a young team. I think that the Red Wings, like we said, are closer than they were the day before free agency to a wild card spot. And at this point, would not be surprised if they grabbed one. But I like the roster builder. We improved in nearly every aspect.
And that's a significant amount of points more too. I mean, look, we were looking at
20. That's huge.
The projection was 81, and now you're looking at potentially 20 more points based on the player changes that were made. I mean, what's interesting to me is that for a guy that hasn't had any NHL time, you put him in Berggren in over Zadina, and the projected points go up.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Especially if you come in here and get rid of Gustav Lindstrom's name and put in Jake Wallman. You go back up to 101.
Yeah, with Wallman and Berggren in the lineup.
So I think that and that's why I look at it and I go, Berggren is so gifted. He is such a good playmaker.
It's incredible.
He's going to be so hungry to earn a spot. And I just worry that him not making it would be discouraging. And Lars
because he's 21.
Lars brought up the point that if he is discouraged and says, I want to go back to the SHL, then what happens?
Then we're screwed.
Not
then he's probably,
I don't think we're screwed, but
the rights are gone because he'll write out his final term, and then he goes and signs with a new team.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's the kind of guy that would do that, but that the possibility of that happening is there.
Yeah.
So I think it's somehow they make room. I think trades are still happening. You gotta trade someone. I'm almost wondering.
Yeah, but who at this point? What gives? I mean, we think there might be a buyout. That's pure speculation.
Sure. What if they trade P.S. Suter? We know Joe Veleno and Michael Rasmussen can both play center.
Right, but you want Veleno. I think the preference, at least for us, maybe would be Raz at the wing. But you're not hurt by, I think, bumping Veleno up.
Can you play Berggren at center?
No. Does he? Can he play center?
I mean, anyone can play center.
Well, that's different.
Luke Witkowski could play center, remember?
Oh, here we go.
Jonathan Berggren is just, I feel like he's too good to leave off the team at this point. He's only listed on Elite Prospects as a left wing.
That's what I thought.
At this point, I don't know. I would say if you come down to it and you don't really want to lose or have the potential to lose Berggren, you've got to kind of figure out what you need to do at that point, because I don't think you lose him. I don't think you can lose him.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple people that said, just let him go. And they do that with a lot of people. Just let him go. He hasn't proven anything. Well, then you don't pay any attention.
Then you haven't seen what he's done in Grand Rapids. Like when the wife and I finally made our trip out there and I got to see him in person,
it's fire, man.
What he was doing offensively wasn't fair. And the way that I mean by that is the passes that he could make.
Yeah.
He was a step ahead of everyone on the ice.
He makes Dylan Larkin type passes.
Yeah. Which is, that's pretty good company.
I think that's passing.
That's where I've said before, and I know it's probably a stretch, but like his playmaking reminded me, and it's fitting that's a countryman of Zetterberg.
Yeah.
And the way that he just you don't think he's going to make a pass, then all of a sudden it's on the tape of another player. That's what he does. And for a team, they've brought in goal scorers now.
Yep.
That's where having a player like him, even if he's on the third line, with the way that they're spreading this team out, you're not hurt. But now the issue we're running into is when Robbie Fabry comes back, then what happens?
Moves. Yep.
Because we're not even talking about Giovanni Smith or Adam Ernie in these rosters, and they're still technically on this roster. I know, but are they going to get picked up? I highly doubt it.
Jordan Osterley is still on the roster.
I know. So there's going to be a lot that's going to have to change because you signed Wallman and Zadina, you're over the roster limit.
Yep.
And that's why they've got up until
trades.
And
that's why I talked about trades.
It seems inevitable.
You got to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like I said, I think at this point you're happy with your bottom two centers. If you put Rasmussen and Veleno at center, you could trade a Pia Suter. That frees up a roster spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the size of Sundqvist on the bottom six. I like the playmaking of Sundqvist on the bottom six. You just brought in all of his friends, basically. Yeah. You brought in Billy Husso. Brought in David Perron.
Sundqvist can play center.
He can. So there's another option. You want to keep Rasmussen on the wing? Sundqvist can play center. Yeah. So you move Joe Veleno up to your third line center. You put Sundqvist on your fourth line center.
And the big thing about Sundqvist too, I mean, you mentioned bringing in all of his friends. All of his friends are aggressive type players, and we saw that
St.
he is
Louis
not
was
afraid.
An aggressive team.
If Sundqvist, if somebody was screwing with Larkin or whomever else, he was like, "Nah, you can get fucked."
Yeah. And he's not afraid to beat people up, and he has the crazy eyes.
Yeah.
So
no, look at his teeth are crazy too. Yeah. Like, he's not afraid of getting punched in the face.
Yeah, he's like,
he's got hockey teeth.
Fuck around and find out face. That's what he's got.
Yep, right? Pretty much. So it's a weird situation to finally be talking like this. And it's not. The only shitty part is that there's no true. I mean, we know who these stars, quote unquote, of this team are, but it's not. After you get past those couple players, the line is thin.
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is like there's a couple guys we think can just see ya, but the rest, it's like, where do you put them? How are you going to slot this lineup? Is it going to be good regardless? Probably, but it's those fringe guys like the Zadina. I think, like we said, is in. What's Berggren going to do? What happens when Fabry comes back? Is Giovanni Smith in or out? Is Adam Ernie on his way out? Is he going to get bought out if Wallman gets that contract and whatever happens there? It's weird. It's a completely different situation than we're accustomed to. And I'm not mad about it.
No, it's a good, stressful situation.
Yeah.
I think that, like you said, so do we package a couple players? And I know they mentioned Bertuzzi by name, but his name has gone around in several trade mills.
So is Yzerman. back
Do
in the
they
day.
package a Bertuzzi and a Suter? And I mean, again, you're going to have a glut of defensemen. Do they package a Bertuzzi, a Suter, and a defenseman and send them to Toronto
For who?
for a Nylander and
A Liljegren?
something else?
Oh, forward? Mm.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting rid of 2 forward spots there and adding a forward. So you're only freeing up 1 forward spot.
I mean, Burt and Suter gives you right about 8 million. What's Marner making? Or
Nylander's making over 6.
Nylander, yeah, you're putting more money into Toronto's pocket. You have to retain. Now, granted, they're both 1-year deals, so you could retain half of Burt's salary in that case.
You could, yep. I mean, you want to go crazy? Get Mitch Marner. Get John Tavares.
Shit.
That 1 million-year contract. Toronto's going to have to make something happen because they want to re-sign Rasmus Sandin. Or do you trade Bertuzzi and Suter to Toronto and retain salary and take back a cap dump player and a Rasmus Sandin?
And say anything you make with Toronto, you have to retain. I don't think there's going to be any way around that.
And you have to take a bad value contract, probably. Yep. So
Which
do you do that?
Let's see, who do they have? You have them up? I'm pulling it up.
I don't have Toronto up currently, no, because I just thought about this off the top of my head.
Are you saying we would pull a forward contract or a defense contract?
I would probably say a defense contract that you can sit.
None of them. Because you're either getting Morgan Riley, who's not coming in, or Jake Muzzin. TJ Brody, but I mean, he's the problem with their defense, other than Timothy Liljegren, is you've got Morgan Riley, no movement. Yep. Jake Muzzin, no trade. TJ Brody, no trade. Justin Hall, modified, no trade. So
yeah, they like to give those no trade clauses to all their people. They do the Ken Holland specials on those. Though we do have updates on the Red Wings contracts. Andrew Kopp has a modified no trade. David Perron has a modified no trade. Ben Sherratt has a modified no trade.
Hey, I'll take that. That's not a no bullshit, you can't trade me deal.
It's 10-team no trade list. Very, very easy to work around. Ville Husso also has a modified no trade. We're not going to trade Ville Husso in the 3 years that he's here.
No. And then the only person that has you cannot trade me is Larkin.
Yeah, he now has a full no trade clause.
Yep.
So, and I'm not trading Larkin in the last year of his contract anyways. And here's the other bit of news. Steve Yzerman said he would love to keep Dylan Larkin for his entire career. So
that's significant.
I think the thing is that, and someone else brought it up too, is that, and I've held this feeling, I think Steve Yzerman sees some of himself in Dylan Larkin. Not talent-wise, because Steve Yzerman is he's a top 50 hockey player of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But leadership-wise, situational-wise,
yeah,
Steve Yzerman sees a lot of himself in Dylan Larkin, which is great.
Player type as well.
Sure.
I'd say, I mean, you said the skill isn't there, which we know no one's topping what Yzerman could do, especially in Detroit. But I think Larkin, especially the last 2 seasons, has had to embrace the defensive aspect of his game. And we saw it the most last season before he got hurt.
Yep.
And what was the biggest thing, and we've talked about this before, that Yzerman had to do, especially when Scotty Bowman came in, to make this team better? He had to embrace defense.
Adapt his game.
We saw the conversations with Steven Stamkos over in Tampa. He did the same thing. Like, these captains are making even Ovechkin, Mr. My Controller died when I'm skating back up the ice, was playing defense in their cup runs. So the changes are being made, and he's 25. He'll be 26 in a couple of weeks. So,
and he's getting married. Congratulations, Dylan Larkin.
Yay.
But the exact quote, before I get it wrong, he did an interview with 97 Won the Ticket. His quote is, "He's the captain of our team, a player that I think is going to be one of the leaders and will play an important role in us being a Stanley Cup contender one day." Yzerman says he hopes to keep Dylan Larkin for his entire career. That is what he said. So I agree. Dylan Larkin is the Detroit Red Wings. Dylan Larkin is the Detroit Red Wings. Whether he is playing first line or second line under Austin Matthews, or which I really
Damn it.
lit a fire under a bunch of people's asses today
Oh,
with that one.
You got people going with that.
Mad, so mad about Austin
Why are they
Matthews.
so bad?
People to the point of they said they would not. No, they're like, Austin Matthews is a pussy. I don't want him on our team. Like, you don't
care.
You don't want one of the best offensive players in the entire game on our team.
Yeah.
You don't want that. No, not at all.
Hey, guess what? We have
Weird
guys on this
mustache and
roster that
receding
can let him
hairline.
be a fucking bitch boy all day. I don't care.
Sure.
Is he going to go? The biggest thing is he's there to score 50 goals.
Put him on the wing.
That's it.
Put him on the wing.
Okay. Don't care. Put him, Larkin, and Raymond together. And
great.
Yeah. We saw what Michael Bunting could do with him.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. That fucking dinosaur had a career year where he got Calder votes out of it. But yeah, Austin Matthews, move Dylan Larkin to the wing. Austin Matthews, Dylan Larkin, and Lucas Raymond. You'd be fucking kidding me with that line.
Verana, Burt.
And I think that Lucas Raymond could be better than Mitch Marner.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I'll drink that Kool-Aid all day.
And everyone says he's going back to the desert. Like, why the fuck would he want to end his career with the Arizona Coyotes? Who I wonder if when they get a new arena in Tempe, will become the Tempe Coyotes.
Yeah, they'll probably keep the state.
Yeah, I mean, they were Phoenix forever without playing in Phoenix. So
it's true.
I think that's where we're going to end it tonight. We have a really good situation for the Detroit Red Wings finally. We will get more on this once more information comes out. Again, once Philip Zina signs his contract, once Jake Wallman signs his contract, it'll be a really interesting time. Before we do final thoughts, if you guys stay tuned to our Twitter page, we are going to be doing a giveaway. We got some sweet books from Keith Gave to give away. He wrote a new book called Vlad the Impaler. It's more like untold stories from the Russian Five. It's really cool stuff. My wife is currently reading it. She said it's very interesting. So we got some of those giveaway. I'm going to kind of turn it into a prize pack, I think. I'll do a shirt, some stickers, a book. I need to get more shirts printed, but I might have a different source for them now that can do them a little better. Not a little better, but a little quicker. So stay tuned for that. But Ryan, final thoughts.
I don't really have any. I mean, this is the most exciting off season that we've had in a very long time. And like, I would say going back to when they were still scratching themselves into the playoffs and we had a Pavel Datsyuk and Henrik Zetterberg still on the roster. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how long it's been since we've probably been able to be this excited about what is potentially there for this team. And again, if they're healthy, who knows what could happen. If they can put a full season together with the type of guys they brought in, this will be fun hockey, ideally.
People have also noticed that we're more happy. We got a lot of comments like, oh my God, you guys it's exciting because you're being so positive. I'm like, we have stuff to finally be positive about.
Yeah, we're projected to be potentially a 100-point hockey team. We haven't been able to say that in a while.
Yeah, sure. So be happy.
Getting to 90 would be fantastic.
It's gonna be a happy season. That's what we're saying.
Yeah. So it's a good feeling. It's the feeling of old, I guess, is maybe a good way to put it. And again, we need to stay healthy, and we'll see how things play out. We've still got a couple more months, so a lot can still happen. And because, like I said, you get Wallman and Zadina under contract, and you're over the proper roster limit. And the only guys that you can technically send down to clear waivers, they're not going anywhere. So something's going to have to give. I think there's a few obvious waiver transactions that'll happen. But, I mean, we're really just going to have to do the wait and see unless a trade happens. So, yeah, it's exciting. I like it. It's there's a lot of buzz on the socials, and it's a good feeling. So we'll see what happens. But RD Ryan 33.
My final thoughts are going to be the same. Welcome to the Positive Grindline podcast, where we're not going to bitch about everything all the time unless it goes terribly
we're
wrong.
Positive.
Yeah, absolutely positive.
Phrasing.
Maybe no, I don't want to say we're positive. We are not positive for anything currently except for this team. I don't know.
We can smile. The Grindline pod.
I think that it's going to be we're trending in the right direction. Basically, what Yzerman says is the team is trending in the right direction, and he hopes that the moves that he has made this offseason help the PK, help all the special teams, help us be better defensively. He said we got bigger on the blue line, which is true.
Yeah.
So I have a reason to be positive. So I think this is the first time, I think, since the inception of this podcast that we might have an overall positive season, and it's going to be real weird.
Hey, the moment that we're able to nitpick a win,
sure,
that'll be, I mean, that could potentially,
Ryan, the day where we plan an episode where we have a week's worth of wins that we have to dissect what went wrong in the wins, I will pop a bottle of champagne in my office.
We'll need to do this one together. We'll have to be in the same location.
Yeah, I'll rent us an office somewhere, and we will record the champagne episode of we have a week of wins, but what went wrong during these wins? Mm-hmm. And we can be happy and drink champagne and discuss a great Red Wings team.
Speaking of live or together episodes, barring what happens with the home opener weekend, we should absolutely record on that Saturday.
Yes. So Ryan's
with Tyler in town, and we'll also be likely with a few other podcasts that day.
Mm-hmm. Ryan's family barbecue, Twitter family barbecue with the Grindline podcast, Unsung Octopi, and now the new 313 podcast.
Yes.
Which is Jake Rivard's new podcast. If you guys want to go check that out.
I like both their logos, how they both turned out.
I do too, and I'm going to be making a YouTube background for Jake here pretty soon.
Ooh,
so I volunteered my pro bono graphic design work for Jake for a YouTube background. But yeah, it'll be exciting. And yes, we should do a live podcast. We'd also talk to Daniela about this season probably going out to Grand Rapids. So
that'd be great.
You can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. You can follow the Grindline Podcast online at Grindline Pod. We like to thank the Hockey Podcast Network for hosting us and spreading our podcast around to everyone. We also like to thank Vintage Detroit for just being awesome. It's the only place you should get your jerseys. You can follow them at Vintage Detroit on Twitter. If you use the promo code Grindline on Howie's Hockey Tape, you'll get 10% off. And if you use that same promo code on Bring Hockey Back, you'll get 12% off. I'm still working with them on that shirt design. We will be launching it shortly after I pick a charity for the proceeds to go to. I think I am leaning toward the Detroit Red Wings Foundation, but I might also talk to Darren about about Joe Koser's charity, the Koser Foundation, who helps children and parents in need. So as soon as we do that, the design is pretty sweet. Everyone will see it. You can go buy that shirt for Bring Hockey Back, and the proceeds will go to a Red Wings charity that we are going to work with.
Awesome.
Yep. And again, contest coming out with Keith Gave. You can also check out our Redbubble, our merch on Redbubble. My new Mo Sider Jesus shirt looks freaking amazing. I think I'm going to buy it in a tank top, and I will wear it on one of the podcasts because it just looks so good. But you can go to redbubble.com and search the Grindline and find it there. You can also check out our website, grindlinepodcast.com, where I still have to update the rosters, but you can find our merch there too. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So for Ryan, I am Greg. You stay classy, Hockey Town.